So tonight, Vulfpeck is at Red Rocks. Vulfpeck doesn't use tracks or anything, it's all live instruments. So we have real instruments. We have a B3 organ there, and then that's connected to a Leslie cabinet, which is the speaker over here. So the sound for the organ comes out of this cabinet. And this has a speaker at the top that spins around. And we've got a couple microphones on that speaker. We have one on the low part. This is the low end of the speaker. Or the low speaker, and that, well, let's just trace it. So the cables are going into this, you call this a sub-snake. So a stage box, sub-snake, so cables go into here, and then this sub-snake is going all the way to the side of the stage, to the console. As you can see, there are microphones on the percussion here, got a couple congas, and then our drum kit. We have a mic on every piece of the drum kit, so the kick drum has a couple mics in the back of it. There's a mic on the snare, mic on the floor tom, overhead mics for cymbals. This is a vocal mic, so this is a lead vocal mic. One of the band members sings lead from the drum kit. Here's our other keyboard world. So on the right side, we have that B3 organ, and we have a clavinet, which is another keyboard that's set up next to the B3. Sometimes this is an upright piano. Today it's a Nord. It's definitely easier to use when you've got a lot of weather. It gets really hot here. It's tough to get an upright piano here and keep it tuned because you'd have to have it tuned multiple times with the humidity and all that. And that is going out of the outputs on the back into this DI box. This is what we call it, a direct input box, DI box. And these are going into another stage box. So if we trace these cables, they're going into here. And this is another stage box. So all those stage boxes, we can trace that path, end up right here into this panel, but it's multiple channels in one connection, so it makes it really easy to patch quickly. It's patched here, and in the back of this panel, it breaks out into individual XLRs, which you can maybe see inside this mess of a rack. So there's tons of cables in here. All of these are patched. We have a patch tech here, so thankfully I didn't do this. We call this a split, an analog split, transformer isolated, 64 channels. And so all the inputs hit this split, and this split breaks out into two big 64 channel XLR snakes. And they're going into the monitor console here, and then the front of house console right here. So we have two separate engines that are handling monitors and then front of house. So monitors is everything on stage. It's kind of what monitors you would think of, like the wedges, the floor monitors, the speakers on the ground, those are called monitors, floor wedges. We have in-ear monitors, which are headphones with a little belt pack, a wireless belt pack. So we have in-ears for everybody, and we have wedges on stage. And the wedges are a nice backup, but it also just helps with feel. So once we get audio into the console, we can control that audio using this surface. So this is just a control surface, and it lets us mix all the wedges for, like, adjust the levels in every single individual mix on stage. So everyone's in-ears and all the floor wedges, everyone can have a different thing in their ears if they want. Usually it's a pretty balanced mix. And then whatever instrument that person has, so like their solo instrument, that is gonna be loudest in their mix on top of everything else. And usually pan to the center. Now that's kind of the default starting place, but some people want different things. Some people only want hi-hat in one ear and then their instrument in the other ear and nothing else. If it's a vocalist, maybe they don't want any drums. They just want bass and keys and their vocal. So anyone can ask for whatever they want. The idea from the monitor engineer's perspective is to make sure everyone on stage is comfortable and is supported so they can perform really well without having to worry about the technical stuff. So once we have the mix dialed in here, it leaves the console back from that same stage rack. So we have outputs. So we have inputs on this side and we have outputs right here. These outputs are all patched. They're patched into the back of these units here. These are wireless transmitters called IEM transmitters, in-ear monitor transmitters. These are Shure PSM 1000s. We have 10 of them because we have 10 people. So there's one for every person. And so the mix leaves the console, eventually gets to here, and then is converted to a wireless signal and it leaves from this antenna right here. So that is the transmitting antenna. So through the air from that antenna, it lands, it is picked up by these belt packs. These are the in-ear monitor belt packs. There's a little volume knob on the top. You can see it turn on. You got signal strength there, RF, good RF signal strength. And then you got battery level right there. And this is Eva's, who is one of the singers. And then she has her in-ear monitors plugged in, which you can see are these little special headphones. And everyone has their own headphones. These look like generics, so anyone could wear these. But some people have custom molds. So you go to an ear doctor and they shoot foam in your ear and then it hardens. You send the foam to a company that actually molds the plastic of the casing for your ear. So then it fits in your ear and it creates a really nice seal. So then it blocks out outside noise and it's really clean sounding. People talk about, oh, in-ears don't sound natural. And the fix for that, a lot of times, is to add in ambient microphones to the in-ears so that it does sound natural when they're moving around stage. You might have a couple ambient mics on stage, not pointed at anything, but just in the mix. And that allows them to be standing there and hear somebody talking next to them that doesn't have a microphone. So it's as if they don't have them in, but it's still helpful because it allows a lot of control over your mix and they can adjust the level. Whereas if you rely on floor wedges, you've got to get them pretty loud to be able to hear really well. And that's where people hurt their ears with the excessive level of floor wedge speakers just shooting in your face, you know. From this split, we're also feeding the front of house console. So it goes into that front of house console over here. It's on this side. It's impossible to see, but trust me, it's in there. It's a rack. And I'll show you the front of the rack. These are the same. We have two Allen and Heath D-Live DM64s. This is for monitors. This one is for front of house. And there's two Cat5 connections in the back of this rack. And that goes into a trough under the ground and goes all the way up under the ground to a cable trough to front of house. And that is where my console is. And we will start making our way there to talk about front of house. Cool. So the best way to go, let's take the tunnel. So we're gonna go all the way down. This is stage left. So a lot of gear, empty cases. Try to keep this clean, but this isn't my house. We're guests here, and so we don't have a big crew. We rely heavily on all the local crew. So kind of up to them to keep it clean in this scenario. This is the tunnel to front of house. Here is where everyone who's played here signs their band name or artist name on the wall. So this is underneath the audience. We've got a few cables on the wall. These are not our cables. It's just the house, everything to make this venue work. This is behind front of house. Now we're gonna walk out into what we call front of house. So we have lighting here and audio. All right, doing a little rig rundown. So this is my audio console at front of house. So those Cat5 cables I mentioned, they plug into the back of here, and that allows me to control the mix rack from front of house. So once the instruments all come to me individually, you could see here, I've got all the drum channels here. So these are those kick mics, snare top, bottom, hat, hi-hat, floor tom, overheads, and then percussion, we've got those two perk mics. And then over here, we have bass, clavinet, B3, the two guitars, the Wurlitzer, the Nord, we have a saxophone, and then we have all the vocals. So this is Jack's headset. Then we have 8 other vocal mics. So during the show, I am riding these the whole time. That's my main job during the show, is to ride the solo instruments and then the vocals. So because 8 mics is a lot to have open at one time because they're all lead vocals. It's not just one lead singer. All 8 at any point in the show can be a lead vocal. So I'm manually adjusting these. But I like to run my show so the fader, when it's at 0, I adjust levels and gain. We call it gain staging. Gain staging is generally making sure you have a good level, a good signal level at every stage in the process. So as the signal is passing from the microphone all the way through the preamps into the console, and then here, and then throughout the channel strip. So if I select one of these, you could see the channel strip, so I have control over the preamp level. That's how much gain we're adding. And then we have a high pass and low pass filter. This is the tonal stuff. This is like sub frequencies that you don't want in a vocal. We have a gate, so this will open and close and allow the audio through. But ideally, it stays closed when no one is singing. So it kind of cleans up ambient sound. And then we have an insert. And one of the songs, we're using this auto-tune plugin for, it's kind of a funny pop song. We don't use tuning on anything else in the show, but like this is the one time we're using it on Jacob's vocal. So it's an insert point in my channel strip. And then there's EQ. So this is adjusting the tonal stuff. This is kind of the brighter area, the top end, like that kind of area. And then down here would be boom, 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 like low. We call them lows, low mids, and highs. You know, so that's tonal stuff you can adjust for. And then compression kind of is a dynamic processor. So it will, when someone sings really loud and they sing really quiet, compression kind of brings those volume levels closer together. So it's more manageable and you can hear, it's intelligible. The goal is intelligibility for all the vocals. So you want to be able to hear and understand every word of every vocal, at least the lead vocals. So compression helps with that, and EQ helps with that, because I'm aiming for a nice even tone, a nice even timbre where you can hear all the notes, the pitch in the bottom end, it's warm and smooth sounding, and the top end you hear the crispness of all the consonants and you can understand what they're saying. And I have another insert point. This is called a multiband compressor. So this is helping me further kind of flatten out the timbre or the tone of the vocal. So when they sing really low, it will compress just the low end for me. And when they sing really high and kind of bright, this will compress just the top end for me in these different bands. So this will help with S's. Like that sound, this will kind of duck down and help compress S's by itself. So anyways, once it goes through this signal chain, it lands at this fader, and I move the fader to adjust the volume. In the PA, we call this a public address system, a PA. And so from here, it goes to my master bus. You call it a master bus, the left-right. The left-right feeds a matrix for the PA, which is the left-right PA, and then we have a sub matrix, so the subs that are hanging up in the air. You'll see on the outside of the PA here, we have really some larger boxes. Those are the subwoofers. So they're all flown up there. And then on the ground, we have additional subwoofers on the ground. You'll see them just on the ground, spread out across the front of the stage. And then we have front fills, and those front fills are the tiny boxes that are pointing back out at the audience, that are kind of, one sitting on top of a sub down there in front of the stage. And that is helping just cover the front of the stage so the audience in the center can hear intelligibly. If the main PA isn't covering them, that's gonna give them a little bit of coverage so they can hear what is happening. I do have some reverb, some effects. So right here I have vocal verb, vocal delay, which is, repeats, echoes. So, hey, 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 hey. That's this right there, and I'm riding that musically. It's just a musical thing. It's not I don't need to use that. If the song doesn't call for it, I'm not gonna use it. But it helps, just musically kind of lift a vocal sometimes. And then vocal verb is, that reverberation. Yeah, and we send the vocals to this engine inside the console, and it creates this fake reverb sound. And we can add in that fake reverb sound to make the vocal sound a little smoother and just add ambience into the mix. To help my mix translate to the room and the PA, I mentioned I send my left-right mix to a matrix. So I'm doing my processing for the PA on that matrix. So I can adjust the EQ of the PA, make it warmer, brighter, whatever I need to do to make my mix translate in the room without affecting the stream mix. So the stream mix is getting their own clean version of my left-right mix. If you look at the speakers, a lot of them are aimed upwards. So they're aimed to cover the top rows of the venue. they're kind of splayed in a gentle arc. And as you get higher up in it's called a line array. As you get higher up in the line array, those speakers are coupling together and they're pushing more energy out into the crowd. I'm mainly worrying about what it sounds like here, and I'm doing my mix. I'm mixing based on what I'm hearing with my ears down here. But when I'm tuning the PA, I do walk all the way up generally, and I listen. Today you saw me running around. It was raining a little. I didn't go all the way to the top. I went halfway up and then I was like, okay, we're good. But I'm trusting the system engineer who's here every single night that he's got it dialed in. And when we start the show, I always have the system engineer for the venue or the production company, whoever's supplying the PA. I have them walk around for me while the show's happening, just to check, like, oh, we turned all those on and we have audio everywhere and it sounds good. And if they hear something like, oh, it's too quiet up there, they'll let me know and they'll say, hey, I'm gonna bump up those top speakers 3 dB or something to get a little more level up to the top. Maybe it's the humidity is causing the sound to get trapped and not make it all the way up. Or maybe it's really windy and it's just harder for the sound to make it up there without getting swept away. Because audio, if we talk about physics of sound, it's waves, it's vibrations moving through the air. And so wind moves the air. And so when you're standing really far away from the speaker and it's really windy, you might hear the sound cut out and come back. And that's just the wind. It's just the wind moving the audio away from you, like the other direction maybe, and then back. It doesn't mean it's actually changing from the PA. It's literally the wind and where you're standing. I love outdoor shows because there are usually less reflections. Now, Red Rocks is a little different because we have bricks. So the speakers are facing this way, right? So everything they hit is going to reflect back this way. And it's hitting a lot of bricks and stones all the way up the venue. So there are a lot of reflections in this venue, and obviously the rocks on the sides. There's some reverberation here. The sound gets echoed, it gets bounced back onto the stage, and it's picked up again by the vocal mics, which then feeds into the PA, which feeds back out. And it creates this loop of reverb. And so you have to be a little careful about what am I hearing that I'm adding, and what am I hearing that's caused from that looping. And when no one is here, there's a lot more reflections because all of the stone is uncovered. But when the audience gets in a venue, usually we say it tightens up. So there's less reverb because now you have a lot of audience members to absorb sound. And on the podcast, I called them meat bags because they absorb sound really well. People are soft. Your skin is soft. Your skin is going to reflect. It's going to absorb a lot of energy. It's also going to reflect a little bit, but not nearly as much as a hard surface like stone or concrete or something like that, or glass. So yeah, I'm listening to how the room sounds. I'm mainly listening to what the PA sounds like, making sure my mix is translating well in the PA. And I don't worry too much about the reverb in the room because there's nothing I can do to fix it. To change the reverb in a room requires architectural changes and acoustic treatment, and it's very expensive. And it's not something you could just throw up. That happens when the room is designed or when it's renovated. I have fun. When I'm able to do enough preparation that I feel confident that the show is going to go well, and technically we're in a good spot, then I'm able to relax and really enjoy the musical part of it. And honestly, once we start the show, at that point, there's nothing I could do, technically. It's just, I need to worry about the music, and let's just have fun. And I'm having fun just like the audience. I'm dancing during the show. It's definitely a high. And it's very, very fun to do. You don't get that experience when you're mixing in the studio. You're just by yourself a lot of times. And you're just vibing to a track in the studio. But when something cool happens and you are helping make it happen and the audience erupts, it's definitely a high. It feels really good. It feels like I'm helping make this experience amazing for this whole audience, and here it's thousands of people. So it's cool. It's surreal in a way. But I don't try to go super high level and think about it during the show because then I'll get in my head and I'll get nervous. I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot riding on what I'm doing. Most of the time I'm just focused on pretty micro things during the show, like the mix and making it sound good. And I save the macro for later. I'll just reflect on it later, like, that was really cool. That was awesome. And this is our third headlining show at Red Rocks, so I have nothing to be nervous about at this point. We've done it 2 other times, headlining. The only thing I need to be nervous about are the couple things I need to double check on my system before we play. It's fun. I mean, the whole reason I like mixing is because I'm helping the musicians create art, and I'm making that come alive for the audience. And I'm definitely a part of bringing the vision, this music to life. I don't have to work very hard for them. Like, they are amazing, and they mix themselves almost. I'm very blessed to work with really high-level musicians, so I'm spoiled to no end.